Good morning, fourth year students. Here is your lecture, Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. So previously we started with Alfred Lord Tennyson with his poem Crossing the Bar. We noticed that he used the metaphor of the sea in order to explain the problem of faith in relation to death. So now we are going to see that we are still with the same problem, the reflection of the same problem in poetry, but with Matthew Arnold, we will notice that he's uh, analyzing, or let's say he's reflecting this problem from another perspective, which is related more to the psychological state of the individual. Okay, so here we are going to see almost the same theme, maybe you can call it the same idea or theme, but from a different point of view. So, Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. What do we need to know about the poet and his poem? Generally, Arnold's poetry often wrestles with problems of psychological isolation. Okay, so you have to pay attention that in this poem you will see that the poet is talking about things from a psychological point of view, or let's say he's trying to go deep into the psychological state of a person who is anxious, who's suffering from certain kind of uh, let's say troubled soul, anxious soul, you see, because he is suffering from this problem of the conflict between faith and doubt inside his mind. Okay, in such poems like, of course, Dover Beach, we are going to see this. There is a link, okay, of the problem of isolation with what he saw as the dwindling faith of his time. You see, so he's trying to find the, or let's say he reflect on the connection between these two things. You see, this is the beginning point for we can say psychoanalysis in literature. In the modern age, we are going, as we are, by God's will, as we are going to go through the modern age next semester, you will notice that in the modern age, the psychological aspects of literature, or let's say the psychological analysis, is going to get wider attention. Actually, there are many works in modern literature which are basically analyzed in the light of psychology. Okay, but this is we can call this is the starting point here. Despite his own religious doubts, a source of great anxiety for him. So Matthew Arnold himself has his own doubts. Actually, he himself was suffering. How could he actually express the psychological state of a doubtful person unless he himself actually was suffering from this problem, you see? And actually, he expressed in many works, not only in his poetry, he was trying actually to be on the part of faith. So he sought to establish the essential truth of Christianity, okay? We see that although he was struggling, he himself was struggling from anxiety, but still he was trying as much as he can to show the reality of faith, the bright side of faith. Okay, what do we need to know about the poem? It was written in 1851. It was inspired by two visits he and his wife, sorry, his new wife, Frances, made to the south coast of England. Okay, so Dover Beach, where does it come from, this title? Actually, it is the name of uh, the south coast of England. There is an area which is called Dover Beach. What is distinguished about this place? Actually, there we can see the white cliffs of Dover stand just 22 miles from the coast of France. So when you stand there, you can see the French coast from the other side. It's very close. And we have cliffs, white cliffs. And here you have a picture to make it clear for you. Okay, this is this is an actual picture from this area, from Dover Beach. You see, they are very high cliffs, white cliffs, dangerous, very high. And from the other side, you can see the French coast. So we can imagine that our speaker, our poet, was standing somewhere here, maybe at some point, some place. Maybe his house is very near in this area somewhere, and he was actually looking to the other side, looking at the sea, and he wrote his poem. Okay, So just to have an idea of what kind of place, geographically speaking, what kind of place Dover Beach is. Now let's come to our poem. The sea is calm tonight, the tide is full, the moon lies fair. Upon the straits on the French coast, the light gleams and is gone. The cliffs of England stand, glimmering and vast, out in the tranquil bay. Of course, you know that usually this is, I think you are familiar now that here we have the text and here we have notes. So you follow the you follow the colors. Okay, you follow the colors. Each part of the poem is colored with a certain color that you find it here the same in the notes. Okay, يعني تتبعوا الألوان. Okay, حتى تعرفون الشرح. The sea is calm tonight. You see, what do we have in these very first lines of the poem? We have description of the landscape. Okay, you see, the speaker describes the landscape in front of him. What are the elements of this landscape? We have the sea. It's very calm. We don't have very strong waves. Okay, it's very calm. The moonlit night. The moon appears. احنا شو قلنا moonlit ليلة مقمرة. Okay. Actually, the moon here makes it very even more beautiful to look at. The landscape becomes even more beautiful because the silver light of the moon. The lights from the French coast also, you can see the lights of the coming from the next, sorry, from the French coast, which is on the other side. Sometimes you see them, sometimes they are gone. Okay, so this is generally what the landscape, what the poet is seeing in front of him. On the English side, the cliffs stand tall and bright. Okay, so everything in the landscape actually suggests that the place is very beautiful, peaceful, relaxing. Okay, quiet. Actually, it's a very beautiful atmosphere. The moonlit night. So what we expect that when you are standing in such a place at such a time, you must be very happy and relaxed. Okay, but let us see what kind of state the poet lives in. Come to the window. So here we know that he's not alone. There's someone with him. Who's this person? His wife. You remember we said that his wife was with him, and he's inviting her, come to the window. Sweet is the night air. So actually, even the night air, there is a very beautiful breeze of air in the atmosphere. He's inviting his wife to come and enjoy with him. Only from the long line of spray where the sea meets the moon blanched land. Moon blanched. Actually, this means that you see the light which comes from the moon. We can call it white light or silvery. Okay. So you can imagine a landscape which is lit with the moon light. It becomes blanched, moon blanched here. This is an adjective of how the scene look like when it is lit with the moonlight. Okay. So the speaker addresses someone beside him, his wife. He invites her to come and enjoy the pleasant air. This could be an invitation to the reader as well to pay attention. Okay, we are an audience here. So we can think of this not only that he's talking to his wife, we can assume actually that he's inviting us also as readers to see and to listen. Notice here, listen. So he first described things that could be seen, and then he's what? Paying our attention to things that could be heard. Listen. This is also an invitation to us as readers to pay attention to what the poet is seeing and listening to. What should we listen to? Listen, you hear the grating roar of pebbles which the waves draw back and fling at their return up the high strand, begin and cease and then again begin. So, what is the sound that the poet is listening to or he's hearing? He's hearing the grating roar of pebbles. You know, because we have this area, this we have this cliff. This is not a sandy beach. We don't have sand. We have cliffs. Whenever the waves hit them, what happens? The pebbles fall down. يعني هذا الشاطئ صخري يسمونه. Okay, rocky beach. So we have pebbles. Whenever the waves come, they are moved with the wave, and they produce this grating roar, the sound. Okay, so he's calling our attention. Can you hear it? He's telling his wife, can you hear the sound of the pebbles when they are taken with the waves? They are being taken forward, and then they what? They return. The waves, because you know the movement of the waves, it is circular movement. The waves comes forward and then it goes back, comes forward. This is a circular motion. It is repeating. Begin and cease. Notice this. It begins, ceases, and then what again begin. So it is a repetitive motion. The sound continues. Okay. The speaker calls the attention to the sounds he hears in the scene. He points to the sound of the pebbles as the waves move them. The motion of the tide is continuous. So he's pointing to something in to the let's say to the idea of continuity. Things continue to what? Especially we are talking in nature. Things in nature, they are always moving in a certain course of motion. Okay, there is always a certain course that things go through. And this you see the sea waves, since ancient times, they move in such a way. Okay, with a tremulous cadence, slow. You see, because we have this is a very calm night. The waves are calm, the sea is calm and quiet. So the cadence, the rhythm here is very slow. And you remember I told you that in nature we have rhythm. Nature has its own sounds, and here the poet is pointing to these sounds, and he is inviting us to listen to the rhythm of nature. Look at the world, look at the nature around you. Look how things are moving in a certain course, in a certain rhythm. This rhythm and this course, very slow. The poet here is referring to it as what? Very slow. And as he's listening to it, what does it bring to him? What kind of feeling? And bring the eternal note of sadness in. Yani, you see, instead of we expect that the speaker could be happy. Being in such a place, peaceful, calm, beautiful, relaxing, joyful, why the poet should be sad? And what kind of sadness? Eternal sadness. It means that this sadness is not usual one, it is deep, very deep. Okay, so the rhythm of the scene is a slow one. Instead of making the speaker calm and relaxed, it brings to him deep sadness. Why he is sad? Of course, there is something which is causing this sadness to him. Suddenly, look at this stanza. Sophocles, he took us to something else. Sophocles, long ago, heard it on the Asian, and it brought into his mind the turbid ebb and flow of human misery. Who's Sophocles? Sophocles actually is what? A famous Greek playwright. But when we are speaking about Greek playwright, we are talking about someone who lived in very ancient time. Actually, Sophocles is very old, very ancient. What brought Sophocles to the mind of the speaker or our poet? Actually, he remembered someone from very old times to say that maybe this is not something new. The feeling that he has, this sadness, it is eternal. It is very ancient. Maybe even Sophocles, who's a very ancient playwright, stood where on the Asian, you know, the Asian Sea, بحر إيجا اللي تطل عليه اليونان. Greece, you know Greece? We have the Asian Sea. So maybe Sophocles, just like our poet, was standing on the Asian, and when he heard the sound of the waves, he also had the same feelings, just like the speaker has here in the English coast. So he imagines that Sophocles heard the same sad note in the Asian Sea as he hears in the English coast. Okay, he supposed that this is the same feeling, and why he's bringing us to this example. He's trying to show what? Look, look, we can have the answer here. Maybe also Sophocles had this what? The turbid ebb and flow of human misery. So human misery is something very, very, very old, very ancient, from the times of Sophocles till this point the speaker is talking, and it is continuing to the future. It is eternal, human misery. But sometimes we have, you see, this human misery, it is intense, sometimes maybe it is lesser. So the ebb and flow of human misery, it is something that is continuous. Human misery is continuing. It started in the past, it is found now, it is continuing to the future. Okay, so our speaker is really concerned, or maybe the thing which is bringing sadness to him, that he remembered that human misery is continuous. And when he, I think the problem with the speaker, that he thought of his age, of his times, and he saw that there are many troubles, many crises in his time. Human misery has increased in the Victorian age, although we have development, we have progress, but if we are talking about the human being, he's still in trouble, still in misery. Okay? We find also in the sound a thought, hearing it by this distant northern sea. So there is an idea which comes to the mind of the speaker again. It brings sadness to him, and it also brings a thought. Okay? What is this thought? Notice I colored this word with red because it has a relation to this part. This is here he tell us that there is a thought that came to his mind. And this thought is explained here in the next lines. The sea of faith. So notice here again we have the metaphor of the sea. The metaphor of the sea, just like in crossing the bar. The metaphor of what? The sea. But what kind of sea it is? The sea of faith was once too at the full and round earth's shore, lay like the folds of a bright girdle furled. Unfortunately, the sea of faith was once what? It was something that surrounds earth, like a girdle, like a belt which surrounds clothes and keep them tight together. Unfortunately, the sea of faith, what's happening to it? What's happening to it? Of course, he's relating to what? The religious faith in his time, that it is just like a sea which is what? Retreating, going back. Okay? But now I only hear its melancholy, long withdrawing roar, retreating to the breath of the night wind, down the vast edges drear and naked shingles of the world. You see? So what's happening? What's happening to the sea of faith? What's happening to religious faith in his time? It is retreating, it's withdrawing. The sound that he hears from this sea is not the sound of strong waves. Instead, he's what? Hearing melancholy. Okay, now he can only hear this sea retreating, leaving the world naked and melancholic. Just like faith was something like a clothes, girdled. Okay, the girdle is removed, and what happens to the clothes? They fall down. The clothes of faith، يعني شو نقول رداء الإيمان، نحكيها بالعراقي. Okay. So unfortunately, this is the state of the world in his times. But in the last stanza, let's see how the poem ends. Oh, love, again he's talking to his wife. He's calling her love. Let us be true to one another. For the world which seems to lie before us like a land of dreams, so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor help for pain. So what's he calling his wife to do? He's telling her, let us be true to another. Let's keep our love true and honest. Why? Notice here he's giving reason. He's giving reason for the world. What's wrong with this world? Although in the beginning he explained or he described everything around him as beautiful and peaceful, but for him, this is deceiving appearance of the world. Look, it lies before us like a land of dreams. You see, when you look around, we have the beautiful calm sea, we have the moonlight, we have a very relaxing and beautiful landscape, but this is just something like dreams, not real, not as beautiful as it appears to us. It is deceiving. Actually, although it feels to be very beautiful, so new, so beautiful, in reality, notice this word here, really, really. Actually, the reality of this world, what? We don't have joy, we don't have love, nor light, no certitude, okay? Nor peace, nor help for pain. This is the reality of the world, no matter how beautiful it appears in front of our eyes. Okay? In the final stanza, the speaker calls his wife again and tells her that they should keep their love to each other true and honest. It is only through that a person could survive in a world which appears deceivingly a land of dreams, while it lacks happiness, peace, and certitude. So, what is the final? We can say what is the final? I'm not gonna say conclusion, but let's say what's the solution? How can we survive then if we don't have all these good things in this world? If it is really ugly like this, just love, through love, having someone having someone beside you who's true and honest with you, who loves you honestly. Okay, this is what is going to make you survive. And we are here. We are here. You see, he's saying that this is something we can't escape from. We are here in this world, as on a darkling plain. Notice the metaphor here. Swept with confused alarms of struggle and flight, where ignorant armies clash by night. The speaker then compares their collective situation, the situation of whole humanity, is like what? Like standing on a flat and dark piece of land, which is caught up in the chaos of fighting. So notice group of people standing in a dark place and they are fighting with each other and they are ignorant people. You see, this is the situation of the world. Here, battles between unknowing groups continue under the cover of darkness. This is how bad the situation is in this world. So the speaker is calling the attention here to what? In the end, that only through love, true and honest love, we can survive. I just want to point to some, it's very brief note here. Notice in this poem that the speaker uses a lot of commas here, commas and semicolon. لاحظون هنا commas. Here we have commas in all the stanzas. And here, notice here how many, we have a lot of commas here. And of course, in poetry, we don't call it a comma. We call it سجرة. سجرة الوقفة الشعرية. Why do we need to use commas in poetry? Poetry is different. Notice here also, here, and here. Here we have an example. Here we have a lot of caesuras. Actually, it helps to slow down the rhythm of the poem. He's trying to what? To make the poem go slowly. So as you read it slowly, so you can reflect on the idea and the themes in the poem. Okay, this is an important note here. So this is in a brief Dover Beach by Matthew Arnold. This is in brief the poem. Uh, Again, we have the problem of faith, and basically here it is related to the psychological state. I hope that it's very clear to you. And of course, when you have any questions, you can go to our group in Telegram and ask. Thank you very much for listening.